Hey, Grace, you there? I got a question for you. So, how much did Dad's painting sell for anyway?
Mitchell? Are you being serious right now? Are you really so hard up for money right now that you would ask me such an inappropriate question?
Long story short, yeah. So, how much are they worth?
How am I supposed to know?
Oh, man, so you don't know, huh?
Yeah, and I don't care to know, since I would never in a million years think to sell those paintings. They were Dad's parting gifts to Mom.
Yeah, but Dad managed to make ends meet just on selling his paintings when he was alive, right? Seems to me like if he was able to do that, his paintings must be worth a decent amount.
Yeah, and as long as those paintings are Mom's property, and she has no intention to sell them, then they're not for sale. So it doesn't matter how much money they're worth. End of discussion. Got it?
Aww.
Hey, Mom! How are you doing? It's been a while since I was there, so I was thinking about coming back into town this coming weekend. Do you have any plans? I'm doing fine, Grace. Thank you for asking. No, I don't have any plans at all. Feel free to stop by whenever you'd like. You just missed Mitchell and his wife Laura. They came by this morning to chat for a while and asked me to show them your father's old paintings. They did? Why? Laura was so taken with them that she asked if I wouldn't mind giving them a few to decorate their house with. I went ahead and let them take out a couple that they liked. Oh no, Mom! You gotta get them back! Call Mitchell right now and tell him to give them back to you! Why's that, Grace? Your father left them to me, but I consider them to be heirlooms for the whole family. Laura was very interested in seeing them. I don't see what's the problem with letting them put a couple up in their house. I'm sure they'll take perfectly good care of them. I don't see anything to be worried about. Yeah, Mom, I know that those paintings have a lot of sentimental value to you and I, but you can't forget that they also carry a high monetary value. Did you at least tell them explicitly that they're not allowed to sell them? Grace, what's gotten into you all of a sudden? I think you're worrying too much about nothing. Mom, you know Mitchell as well as I do. You know he would sell those in a heartbeat if he wanted to. He has absolutely no financial skills. His paychecks are nearly used up within a day or two of his payday. And just yesterday, he sent me a bunch of messages asking me to tell him how much Dad's paintings are worth. Isn't that suspicious? I got a really bad feeling from the way he was talking. And that's a big reason why I wanted to come home this weekend and make sure he didn't do anything really stupid. I had no idea that derelict would make his move so quickly. I should have messaged you right away after our conversation yesterday. This is all my fault. Grace, I'm telling you, you don't need to worry about a thing, dear. How can you be so relaxed at a time like this? He's definitely going to try and sell Dad's paintings. It's all over and done with, Grace. You don't need to concern yourself with anything. Huh? Wait, what do you mean it's over and done with? That's for me to know, and for you to find out. You're not making any sense! For now, you can come on down here this weekend like you had planned. I'll have your favorite cookies waiting for you when you get here. Mom, this is bad! I just got to Dad's studio, you know, the one where he stored all his paintings. Oh my, Grace, you're here already? You're much earlier than I expected. And you've caught me off guard, too. I was just about to head out to the store to buy the ingredients for your cookies. Mom, listen! The door to Dad's studio was unlocked when I got here. And when I looked inside, the whole place had been cleared out. Every single one of Dad's paintings is gone. Really? I thought this was too much for even them, but I checked the security camera footage, and sure enough, Mitchell and Laura were here last night, and they stuffed all of Dad's paintings into their car. Do you still have the key to Dad's study? Do you think they might have managed to make a copy of it? We've got to move fast, Mom. If we wait any longer, Mitchell's gonna sell every last one of them. We can't let them get away with this. Do you have any idea where they might have taken them? Grace, please calm down for a moment. Why can't you just explain what's going on, Mom?
Grace, this is bad. Really, really bad. You gotta help me.
Mitchell? What on earth are you so spooked about? What's going on?
I'm in big trouble, Grace. I need help, fast.
Just calm down and tell me what happened and what you need me to help you with.
Okay, well, I sold all of Dad's old paintings the other day.
I knew it! I knew you were planning to sell them.
I had no choice, Grace. I was up to my eyeballs in debt, and I had no other way to pay it off. You'd do it too if you were in my shoes.
Debt? What did you borrow money for?
Well, you know, a little of this, a little of that. But I figured that if I sold Dad's paintings, I could pay it off in one big lump sum. And, well, maybe if there was a little bit left over, then I could spend it on some stuff for myself.
I can't believe you, Mitchell. This is a new low for you. How could you just throw away our memories of Dad like that?
Save the lecture for later, Grace. Now isn't the time for that. I've got a much bigger problem on my hands. It turns out all the paintings in Dad's study were fakes. None of them were original. Every last one was a fake.
They were fakes? But that doesn't make any sense.
I took them to a professional appraiser to see how much they were worth, and he said that they were all remakes based on Dad's paintings. They weren't actually his paintings. He was 100% positive too. Dad's signature wasn't even on them, so there was no way they were real.
So wait a second. All of the paintings that Dad kept stored in his study, they were all fakes?
Yes, that's what I've been trying to tell you. The appraiser said that they were all copies that were made digitally, then printed off by a computer and placed into a frame. And even the frames were cheap knockoffs.
The story is getting weirder and weirder.
I know, right? I'm still in shock. I can't believe it.
Give me a few minutes, Mitchell. I'm going to talk to Mom for a second. I'll be right back. Hey, Mom, where are you right now? Oh, hello, Grace. I'm at the art museum. There's an exhibit going on with pieces from an acquaintance of mine. An exhibit? Yes, for an artist who was classmates with your father back in art school. I'd met them a couple times over the years as well, so they were kind enough to send me an invitation. But, oh, okay, well, that's nice. But I have something completely unrelated that I need to talk to you about. And it's urgent. Do you have a minute? But of course. How can I help you, dear? I just got a message from Mitchell, and he's super panicked. He said that he just took Dad's paintings to an appraiser, but the appraiser said they were all fakes. And? Is that all you have to say about this? I mean, is it true? There's always a possibility that he's lying and that he kept the originals, made the fakes by himself, and took them to the appraiser to cover his tracks. But I don't think Mitchell is that smart. So I guess I have no choice but to take him at his word. That the paintings he took from Dad's studio were legitimately fakes, and he's just surprised as I was. He also said that the appraiser told him that the paintings he had were all digitally drawn copies of the original that were painted off by a computer and placed into frames. Yes, that all sounds right to me. So, and this is just a guess here, but the fake copies that Mitchell and Laura took from Dad's studio, you made them, didn't you? And the painting that you said you gave them yourself a few days earlier, that was another one of your drawings, right? You're a clever girl, Grace. Well, it seemed like a logical conclusion. I knew that you worked as a background illustrator for an advertising firm back in the day, and I thought you had said something about using drawing software with a computer rather than a pen and paper. So, since neither I or Mitchell have any artistic talent whatsoever, the only other person who had both access to Dad's studio and had an art background was you, Mom. You figured that out all by yourself? Truly impressive, dear. Okay, now that that's out of the way, the last remaining question is, why did you do all that? To be honest, I felt that this would be the only possible way to teach that boy a lesson that would set him straight. Go on. It's been a hobby of mine for the last several years to take your father's paintings and do my best to recreate them digitally. Once I felt like I was getting better at copying them, I started printing them out onto full-size paper and placing them into frames to compare them side by side with the real ones. Then, the other day, your brother Mitchell came by, saw one of my most recent copies, and apparently couldn't tell the difference between it and the real one. Oh, is that the one you gave him? The one you messaged me about? Yes, that's the one. They were raving about how beautiful it was and complimenting your father's artistic ability. They seemed so convinced that it was the real thing that I just didn't have the heart to tell them otherwise. They must have taken my key to the studio and copied it when I was packing the frame into the box for safe transportation. And then, the day you came back into town, they waited until I had left the house to go into your father's studio and take all the paintings they thought were real. After that, they went down to the appraiser's place to have them looked at, and the rest is history. By the way, the appraiser they went to also happens to be a friend of your father's, and he called me after Mitchell and Laura left his office to tell me that they had brought my drawings to his store. Wow, you knew the appraiser? I guess that makes sense. It's not a very big art community around here. Yes, your father was quite the popular artist. I'd be surprised if there were any appraisers he wasn't friends with. Your father was quite a shrewd man as well. He foresaw the possibility that Mitchell would try to sell his paintings, and made preparations to cut him off at the pass. He sent out messages through his colossal network of connections in the art world, and made sure that any time any person tried to sell one of his paintings, that they would contact me immediately. Looks like his plan was a resounding success. Yeah, that explains why the appraiser called you. I was wondering about that. Indeed. Mitchell and Laura were still at his office when he called, so I had him tell them that the appraisal would take some more time and send them back home. Then, just today, I had him call Mitchell back and tell him the news, that he couldn't buy the paintings from them because they were fake. My guess is that Mitchell messaged you after getting off the phone with the appraiser. You said he sounded panicked. Wow! I'm really impressed. I never would have thought both you and Dad had planned for such an occasion as this. Oh, and by the way, don't worry about my paintings. The appraiser had them all returned to your father's art studio. And as for the originals, I've had them stored in a much more secure location for years now, so you don't have a thing to worry about, Grace. They're completely 100% safe. Okay, well, that does make me feel a lot better. But that still leaves the issue of Mitchell and Laura's debt. He told me that he was in debt up to his eyeballs and was planning to sell Dad's paintings in order to pay it all off. Yes, and I think it's high time I took care of that boy once and for all. What do you mean, Mom? It's just like I told you before, Grace. That boy's life took a turn for the worse ever since he married that awful Laura woman. I warned him not to marry her, that she would be a bad influence on him, but did he listen to his mother? Of course not. And look at him now, tens of thousands of dollars in debt that he used on exotic trips, fancy dinners, and casinos. Casinos? You mean he went into debt so he could gamble? I take back what I said about him. It's not that he has no financial skills. He's just an irredeemable moron. Good grief! I know how you feel, but I've made arrangements for him as well. You mean there's even more to you and Dad's plan for Mitchell? I told you that it's all over and done with, didn't I? When I said all, I meant it. I've made arrangements for Mitchell to deal with his debt. Oh boy, what did you do, Mom? I did what any responsible parent would do to turn their prodigal son back to the straight and narrow. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to go back to enjoying the art exhibit. Take care, Grace. Stop by whenever you'd like. Oh, sure. Thanks, Mom. Talk to you later.
Grace, you gotta help me!
What is it this time?
This is bad, really bad, like super bad, I mean it.
Okay, I'll bite. What is super bad, Mitchell?
Brackwater!
Brackwater?
A black panel van just pulled up in front of our house and a bunch of guys with ski masks jumped out. They're saying they're with the Brackwater Company.
Oh, they're the military contractor that Mom's cousin worked for a few years ago, right? That actually makes perfect sense. Now I know what Mom meant when she said she had made arrangements for you.
Wait, what do you know about this, Grace? Tell me, please, and fast!
They're a military contractor that operates in a lot of foreign countries that are in various states of civil unrest. And it seems like they've found their two newest recruits.
Recruits? I didn't sign them for anything.
Well, I have good news and bad news. The good news is it looks like Mom found you a job where you can work up all the debt you built up. The bad news is you might not be alive long enough to enjoy the debt-free life you've been dreaming of.
You mean I might die? This can't be happening. Grace, you have to do something, help me!
You think I'm gonna put myself on the line against Brackwater? Sorry, but I have better things to do than go up against a mercenary group like them. Didn't you watch the news? Every time someone tries to blow the whistle about their activities, they end up dying in strange circumstances.
Grace, you can't let them take me, can you?
Actually, I can, and I will.
Grace! No!
I really had Mitchell going with the whole Brackwater bit, didn't I? Well, unfortunately, the people who came to pick him up weren't a shadowy mercenary group. They were from a live-in work education program for derelict adults. Mom was aware they were coming to pick up Mitchell and Laura that night, and she pulled up in her car right after they did. Mitchell and Laura were already loaded into the van when she got there, and she was greeted to a chorus of bangs on the van walls and muffled sounds of terrified screams. She spoke to the leader of the team the two of them would be inducted into for a while about what sort of work they'd be doing over the next year, then turned and walked over to the van. Mitchell had a gleam of hope in his eye when he saw Mom coming, thinking she was going to save him from the terrible fate that awaited him. But she just went up to the window and said, "Have a good time, Mitchell," got back into her car and drove home. Mitchell and Laura were put right to work in their re-education programs at separate facilities. They're doing everything from construction to sanitation to engine repair and all sorts of skills that might help them land a job that they'll be able to keep for more than a month or so. Hopefully, in between all the back-breaking labor, they'll find at least a little bit of time to reflect on their lives, think about how they got themselves into this situation, and make a plan on how to work their way out.